And my mother was sitting at the kitchen table with him. She could not look at me. And he said, "Lori, I'm sorry to tell you that your father has died." I just didn't know what to do. And then 2 years later, she died of a brain aneurysm. And yeah, so by the time I was 18 years old, both my parents were gone, low self-esteem, hooked on carbs and sugar. Then I saw Dr. Berry's video about the proper human diet. And I listened to this video and I was thunderstruck. That gave me the courage to throw the carbs and sugar out for good. And I have been carb-free and sugar-free for almost 2 years for the first time in my life.
Hello and welcome, Carrie here from Healing Humanity, the Power of a Proper Human Diet. And today I'm honored to have Lori from Carnivore Cheer on the channel. Lori, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Glad to be here.
Oh, I'm glad to have you here. I'm looking forward to talking to you some more. You sent me an email the other day and I watched your entire video. You were speaking about the question, does humanity need healing? And I couldn't stop watching it. It was very interesting, and I always appreciate you. You've always got really wonderful comments on the channel. You're wearing the Healing Humanity shirt like I am, and you've been supporting the channel, so I really appreciate that too. You've got your own YouTube channel as well, which is awesome. So wanted to talk to you some more. I was hoping to maybe we could talk about anything. I love just kind of riffing, but I was hoping maybe if we could start out, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe share a little bit of your background, maybe a little bit before your carnivore journey or what led you to carnivore.
Oh, sure. Well, I am past 70 years old, so I've been around the block several times. And I grew up in the Midwest, and I'm the youngest of 5 children. Now, what's interesting about how my eating pattern started to evolve was as early as I can remember, back when I was a tot, I always loved meat. And I just felt that meat always just agreed with me. And so I was probably a carnivore even back then, and I just didn't know the word for it. But so that was a very clear eating pattern for me, loving meat. Now, unfortunately, it was joined by a couple other eating patterns that were not so good. I did not like vegetables, and that's not necessarily bad, but everybody else seemed to think it was bad because vegetables have kind of they've been on a pedestal for generations, and they are seen as the gold standard of nutrition. So if you weren't eating vegetables, you weren't getting enough nutrition. And so that was always a trouble spot for me because I just didn't like them. And as much as I tried to force myself to eat them, I just didn't like them. And that caused me some pain when I was a child because people didn't, why isn't she eating her vegetables? And then the other very sad eating pattern that emerged for me was that I developed a very, very strong attraction to carbohydrates and eventually sugar. So I was eating more and more potatoes with my meat and rolls and bread and muffins. And then I got into the desserts, the cake, the cookies, the candy. And so even though I still love meat all this time, these other things, the carbs and the sugar especially, were pushing meat off the center stage in my diet. Now, despite that, what's kind of strange here is that I was a healthy child. I had lots of energy, very physically active. I didn't have an ounce of fat on me. I could outrun, outkick, outthrow any girl on my street. I could ride a bike faster. I could climb a hill faster. In fact, I used to ride my bicycle around the neighborhood with the boys because the girls were too slow. So I was always a very energetic child up until adolescence. Even though I was eating tons of carbs and sugar, I was still very energetic and very physically fit. What I didn't know at the time was the destruction had already started inside my body. I just didn't realize that I was too young. I was just a kid back then. What did I know about nutrition? But when I hit adolescence and my body started to change from a girl's body to a woman's body, that's when things started to kind of go downhill. I didn't like the changes that were happening in my body. I wanted to be that skinny, energetic, athletic kid forever. but now my face was filling out, my figure was filling out. I began to feel this pressure to be a pretty girl and think about what boys liked in a girl. And, girls were starting to think about things like makeup and going on a diet to stay skinny. And I really didn't care about any of that. And I kept eating carbs and sugar. And so I started gaining weight. And for the first time in my life, I developed a protruding abdomen, a pot belly. And that was embarrassing enough. What I didn't realize was a pot belly is dangerous. It really is. It has the visceral fat that is very, very bad for you. I just didn't like the way it looked on me. By the time I was 15, I had slowed down considerably. I wasn't riding my bike as much anymore. And I was slowly putting on weight, putting on 5 pounds here, 7 pounds there. And that didn't help my self-esteem one little bit. And I had grown up, unfortunately, in a family that struggled to express love and compassion. And I don't want to blame anybody, but it was very, very tough for me. As the youngest of 5 children, I was subject to lots and lots of teasing. And teasing just hurt me tremendously. So here I was gaining weight, not feeling good about my appearance, and not feeling good about myself. I didn't feel I was very smart. I didn't feel like I was very capable of anything. I couldn't sing or dance or play a musical instrument. And that was beginning of a lot of feelings of self-degradation and self-hatred. So the bad food and the bad feelings about myself were a battle that I have fought up until this very day. But as the years went by, as I went into my 20s and my 30s, the weight gain started. And then the yo-yo appeared. I tried to lose weight, lose 5 pounds, gain it back plus 5 more. Lose 10 pounds, gain it back plus 10 more. And that yo-yo throw just getting longer and longer until I weighed over 220 pounds. And if my self-esteem was bad early in my teens, it was just totally destroyed by this time, because now I was carrying on all this extra weight. I looked horrible. I couldn't stand to look at myself in the mirror. I had a double chin. I mean, all that extra weight on me just changed my appearance. And I certainly did not need that. That did nothing for my self-esteem. So I just kept going on with this really pretty awful existence. But I didn't seem to have any obvious health problems up until my late 30s, when I got a warning shot. My blood pressure had gone up. And my doctor was concerned. Now, wisely, she wanted to give me a chance to try to reduce it, blood pressure, through diet. She didn't want to put me on meds right then. Thank goodness for that. So I managed to take off maybe about 40 pounds, and my blood pressure did go down to normal. But that 40 pounds didn't stay off. The carbs and the sugar made sure of that. And also at this time, I was getting a sense that eating was a source of comfort for me. Because when I was 16, my father died, and he had had multiple health problems himself. And he had struggled with a lot of his own personal disappointments. He was a military pilot in the Navy. He loved flying. His heart was in the sky, but he could not fly anymore after a while because we believe it was blood sugar, but my mother never told me, but that was my guess, because he did have a diagnosis of diabetes eventually. So my guess is that his inability to fly an airplane anymore was a terrible blow to him. And I think he felt a lot of anger about that. And I didn't understand that at the time. These are some of the things that the mental clarity from the carnivore diet is helping me to understand today. But back then I didn't understand it. And then when he died, I didn't know what to do, because I came home from school one afternoon and the pastor of our church was in our house. And my mother was sitting at the kitchen table with him. She could not look at me. And he said, "Lori, I'm sorry to tell you that your father has died." And I looked at my mother. She couldn't look back at him. She was just absolutely devastated. I didn't know what to do. I felt devastated myself, and here was my mother devastated. How do I handle all of this? I just did not have the equipment to do that. And I began to realize that all these things were happening. You know, my parents had a lot of issues with their own marriage and everything else. And I never had the emotional tools to deal with that, except for one thing: food. Because food was the one thing that never talked back to me. It didn't lecture me. It didn't argue with me. It didn't hassle me. It just sat there and made itself available for me to eat. And it was the one thing in my life that was just not a struggle. So it was starting to be a comfort. And once again, you know, I was not mature enough to understand that that was happening, but it indeed was. And so after my father's death, I kind of had to take care of my mother because she was just so overcome with everything about his death. She had to close down his business, and she was under a great deal of pressure, and she was just so horrified by losing him. And I just didn't know how to comfort her. I just didn't know how. And so here we were in the house together, and I just didn't know what to do. And then 2 years later, she died of a brain aneurysm.
Oh, no.
And yeah, so by the time I was 18 years old, both my parents were gone. And my sister was in college, my brothers were in the service. And so I really had to become an adult pretty quickly. And even though legally, being under 21, I was called an infant still. I know that was a legal term. But I had to really kind of make it through life on my own. And the eating really kicked in badly. It was just too painful. But, you know, a big hot fudge sundae made it all better. And so that type of pattern kept going for the next 4 decades. And then when I was 23 years old, my youngest older brother committed suicide. He had become addicted to alcohol, and he was in total despair. And one night he just ended it. He asphyxiated himself in his car. And my uncle came over to break the news to my sister and me. And it's like, I don't know what to do, what to say. You know, how could he have reached that point of despair? But there was a tiny element of me that did understand it, because there were so many things he wanted to do. He was so smart. He wanted to get his PhD in industrial psychology, but his addiction to alcohol just ruined everything. It really did for him. And so now he was gone. How do I handle that? I had no way of processing the grief for that. And I realize now, today, that I never fully grieved over his death and how tragic it was. So now here I am, 24 years old, both parents gone, brother gone by suicide. Oh, brother. Low self-esteem, hooked on carbs and sugar. Where am I going?
Quick interruption. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in learning more about our documentary, Healing Humanity, The Power of a Proper Human Diet, or supporting it, please visit donate.healinghumanity.movie. Our goal is to reach millions of people that are hopeless right now, and sharing the examples of real people over the course of 1 year that are undertaking a proper human diet to overcome obesity, type 2 diabetes, depression, anxiety, fertility issues. We couldn't do it without you. We thank you so much. We are also selling these shirts, Healing Humanity, The Power of a Proper Human Diet. Every penny we get from those goes towards the documentary. And last, we have memberships. If you click the little join button, it's best to do it on desktop. Under any one of my YouTube videos, you can join and become a member. We have hundreds of members right now. We do members only videos. We do members only behind the scenes. You can email me as a member and I'll answer you. And every penny from that goes to support the documentary. And the last thing is we have these Redmond's portable salt shakers. These things are awesome. You can get the best salt. You can take it with you. We sell these on the website along with our water bottles and cutting boards, and every penny from all of those goes 100% towards supporting the documentary. You can also sign up for our newsletter, which is completely free. All of these links are in the description below. Thank you so much for your support. Now back to today's video.
And I just kept going this way, you know, down and down and down, more gain, more weight gain, until I finally began to have really serious digestive issues. I wasn't feeling good, but I ate it. I ate anyway. I just ate around it. Even when I was sick, I ate. And, you know, I had a colonoscopy and they were concerned, you know, that my colon was starting to flare up. And but it was mild enough that, you know, I kind of just struggled along. But it was just another thing to deal with, another thing to worry about. And then about 6 years ago, I had another colonoscopy, and they said your colon was just in pieces now. It's not going to function. It's not going to last. So I had a complete, what they call a proctocolectomy, removal of the entire colon and the rectum. And just to be on the safe side, they also did a complete hysterectomy. And I often told friends after the surgery, they fortunately were able to do both surgeries at the same time. But I told some friends, I feel like a hollowed out Halloween pumpkin. But in a way that was both a blessing and a warning. It was a blessing in the sense that, you know, this diseased colon was out of my body. It was a warning that I can't go on this way anymore. I absolutely must do something different. I'm sick of being hooked on carbs and sugar. I'm sick of having them rule my life, you know, but it's like, what am I going to do? I can't imagine a life without carbs and sugar. What am I going to do? Every time I thought about it, I thought, I can't do that. What am I going to do? And so I saw a video from Dr. Robert Lustig, and he talked about the very dangerous elements of sugar. And that kind of scared me because he said he had young children in his practice, like kids as young as 10, being diagnosed with fatty liver and diabetes at age 10. And I thought, look at all the sugar I've been eating. Holy cow. You know, I was lucky that my blood sugar hadn't really gone through the roof at that time. And I thought, I can't imagine what other things might be in store for me if I keep eating this poison. So I thought, you know, maybe I can get a handle on it by just eliminating the really bad sugar like candy bars, Reese's peanut butter cups, things like that, and just having an occasional piece of powder cake. And that worked for a while. Then I saw Dr. Berry's video about the proper human diet. And I listened to this video and I was thunderstruck because all these years of messaging, and you've talked about this before, where we've been told, oh, red meat is bad for you, don't eat red meat, you know, all saturated fat, bad for you, clogs your arteries, you know, margarine is better than butter, vegetable oil is better than, you know, cooking in lard or beef tallow or whatever. I had listened to all that stuff for years and years and years. And Dr. Berry was saying, red meat is nutritious, it is ancestrally appropriate for us, and it's the best way that you can eat. And I felt like someone had cut a ball and chain off of my ankle because I thought, now it makes sense. I have loved meat all my life. And here is a validation that that is good. And that gave me the courage to throw the carbs and sugar out for good. And I have been carb-free and sugar-free for almost 2 years. I will never, ever go back. Ever.
Wow. Wow. I never knew your story, Lori. That's crazy. Wow. So it's been over 2 years now. S-
Well, May 27th. I'm not sure exactly the day that I went carnivore, but I just picked a day somewhere. It was somewhere in the month of May. So I thought May 27th, that's going to be my carniversary. So I'll be 2 years. I'll be a 2-year-old carnivore in May 27th.
That's awesome. I'm coming up on 1 year in about a week. So
Oh, good for you. That's wonderful. Yeah, we're looking forward to celebrating with you.
yeah, I'm putting together a video for highlights from the year since I've done so many videos over the course of a year. But
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
so with your, if I could ask, with your colon, do you think that was caused by your diet?
Well, I think it is. It was. I can't imagine any other reason why. But I did ask, I have like 3 doctors, is there anything about my diet that might have brought this on? Oh, no, it doesn't have anything to do with that. What about stress? Would stress have anything to do with it? No, it's just they had no answer,
Hmm.
no cause. I don't know. But I am firmly convinced that diet was the number one cause because when I think back on it, you know, I probably had digestive issues ever since childhood. And I'm still exploring like what hints did I have as maybe as young as 5 or 6 years of age. Maybe I had to explore that. So I think it was a lifelong issue for me that just culminated in the whole thing falling apart. And I think diet is the number one, the prime suspect.
Hmm. Yeah, I interviewed carnivore Kent Lee Copus a while back, and he
Yes.
lost his colon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
and
did.
he was saying, sadly, if he had found the proper human diet earlier, he thinks he'd still have his colon and not have the colostomy bag or anything like that anymore. Which
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
yeah, he had a good warning for people because I always struggle with that. Some people they won't want to change until they have to, until it gets so bad that they have to. And Lee said, hopefully they don't wait until they lose their colon or have something that's irreversible to make that
absolutely.
decision.
Yeah, I'm sorry that it took that to make me change too, because I wear the same type of bag that Lee wears, and I have adjusted to it. I feel fortunate that I can still work full time, and at this age, I think I've still got all my marbles, so I'm lucky. I feel grateful for that, but that's a pretty drastic change in my body. I mean,
Right.
that was big. 9 hours on the operating table, and it probably saved my life. And yet, at the same time, gosh, what a drastic thing to have to bring about this change in my way of eating.
Right. Wow. So you've been carnivore for almost 2 years now. What was it like in the
Yeah.
beginning when you first started? How was it adjusting, being that you were so addicted to sugar and carbs before?
Well, I had to take it one day at a time because I actually kind of did a little step through process because I first started eliminating the really horrid carbs like potato chips, all the crackers and all the junk foody stuff, Fritos and all that stuff. So that was kind of the first step. And then I got rid of the candy bars, the Reese's peanut butter cups, all that kind of stuff. But the harder part was just getting rid of the sugar altogether. So I had to take a one day at a time approach. It's like I'm going to do all no sugar for today. I'll just focus on today. So I did it one day, no sugar, no carbs. Got through the day. The next day, I did it. I'm going to try it again today.
Hmm.
I did it a second day. Success. A third day, a fourth day. And then I thought, I can do this. I really can. And the other thing was after watching Dr. Berry's video, I began to reappreciate how good it was to be able to eat meat and not feel, I shouldn't eat red meat. It's bad for me. It's bad for the environment and all this. I don't have to lie to myself anymore. It's
Hmm.
okay to eat meat. And so now when I have like beef, like today I had 2 beef patties and some eggs for my first meal of the day. And that's actually going to be my last meal of the day because I'm still very full. But the beef was excellent. It was so good. And I feel very satisfied. And so I thought, I'm so grateful. I don't feel any need for sugar. I don't feel any need for bread. I don't have to eat a burger with a bun anymore. Yay.
Lori, where are you from? You mentioned the Midwest.
Yes, I was born in suburban Chicago, and my father's sales job took us around the Midwest for a while. After he died, my mother wanted to be with her family in upstate New York, so we moved back there. And after she died, I got my first job after college there, and then I got a job offer to come out here to Northern California. So I live just north of San Jose, California right now.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was hoping you were closer. Been
I
fun for a
know,
meetup or something.
I know. Well, one of these days, if, when I got some spare money, I'm going to go to the movies at the Monticello Theater.
We'd love to have you, or we'll come out by you because at some point we're going to be in
Yay.
that neck of the woods for sure.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Oh, please keep me posted. I'll look
Yeah.
forward to that if you can do it.
I watched your video the other day where you're talking about does humanity need healing? And I couldn't stop listening to you. And this is the interesting thing for me. My goodness, Lori, you've been through so much, losing your parents, losing your brother. You're just so sweet and kind and nice. It's like, it's kind of interesting for me too, because people, they don't say I'm sweet and kind and nice, but they always say to me, you're so inspirational. And I was never like this before Carnivore. I have turned a 180 and I am the exact opposite of what I was before because I feel like I'm making up for lost time and because I have energy. Were you always this sweet and nice, or is this elevated a little bit because of your nutrition?
It's interesting because people have always described me as nice. But the problem was I had so much negative self-perception that I was carrying around a lot of anger. I just wasn't showing it. But in some ways, it did manifest itself in envy of others, just kind of, sometimes pouting or, so some of that negativity did come out, even though I always believed that it was best to, try to listen to people and be as polite as I could. Now, what's interesting today is that since I have adopted the carnivore diet and I have so much greater mental clarity, which I am just extremely blessed to have, I feel a stronger need than ever to be kind. I love Bill's phrase, be kind to one another. He is absolutely right about that. But what was also interesting is that once I didn't try to eat my problems away or numb the pain with food, a lot of unresolved grief and, very hurt feelings from being teased and, neglect, not physically neglected, but just, feeling a lack of respect from other people. I didn't realize how much that had hurt me. So since I started carnivore, I have actually felt a great deal of true pain because I'm not eating away the problem anymore. It's right there in front of me. And so I have shed bitter tears. I have felt, sometimes I said out loud, which I never did before, why do I hate myself? So all these things are coming out now. They're right in front of me. I have to face them. The poet Robert Frost said, the only way around is through. And he is right. I am going through this right now because the food is no longer available for me to numb my feelings anymore. I have to face them. So I'm hoping, and this is going to take a long time because this is decades and decades of sadness and grief and unresolved pain that I am now facing. So it's going to be take a little longer for me to recover from this. And I don't want to devolve into like just a complete depression where I don't care, I'm going to die or anything like that. You know, because you had mentioned, you know, one of the blessings of carnivore for you was that you got off many, many antidepressant medications. And that was just wonderful for me to hear. I'm so glad that that was able to happen to you. And for me, my process is now I don't take any medications at all, thank goodness. And people have told me sometimes, well, why don't you get a prescription for antidepressants? No, I do not want to do that because I don't want to medicate my way out of this. That's not going to help. The only way I can do this is to respect my own feelings and to face them and to work through them. And hopefully the road to joy will be seen. And that's why I did that video, because I am just brokenhearted at the sad and cynical way that so many people view life. I don't want to live life that way.
Wow. Wow. Your story is just incredible. So going through this, Lori, do you have friends and family or coworkers or people nearby that are like seeing you go through these changes?
Well, that's the weird thing, because I have no family in this area. I am really pretty much on my own. You know, my brothers have passed away, and my sister lives across the country. And, you know, unfortunately, we've had some difficult issues to deal with one another, and it's been some, you know, there's been some difficulty there. And she went through a lot of the same things that I did. And I have, you know, I have always had a very strong independent streak, far more than any other member of my family. And I'm very proud of that. I've supported myself, you know, through most of my adult life. At the same time, I am truly on my own. You know, if I lose my job, that's a pretty big deal. And so I feel a lot of pressure to maintain an income. You know, I'm blessed to have a decent car, that I don't have to worry about it falling apart next week or anything. I do have 2 cats. I am very blessed to have them. But, you know, if for any reason I lose my income, I'll have to give them up. And so there are some challenges that I've got that, you know, are very stressful. So in that sense, I am so blessed to have the mental clarity to understand this. At the same time, life can be very scary for me sometimes.
Have you ever joined any carnivore groups, or Dr. Barry as a group, Bella Steak and Butter Gang, or any of those?
Well, I belong to Dr. Barry's private community.
Okay.
And that's a wonderful place. And there are a lot of people that, you know, are very comfortable sharing the questions that they have about, you know, how they can resolve some of their dietary issues or the physical symptoms that they have. And I have posted questions there too, you know, like, you know, sometimes I've heard a lot of commentary about, well, don't eat too much protein because it might raise your blood sugar. So I post questions like that on Dr. Bear's channel. And so I've gotten some very nice responses from people. And Dr. Perry has a very good team of coaches, and they're all terrific. They're well qualified, they're trained, and sometimes they have sessions that they offer on their own. They have Zoom sessions that you can join. And, you know, I've been poking around the carnivore community all over the place. And fortunately, I've encountered many people like Dave Mack, No Carb Life. I interviewed with him twice, and he's a real friend in the carnivore community. I'm very grateful. You know, I'm going to be speaking with Carnivore's grandma, Robin,
Yay.
in April. Yeah, she is really, really cool. So I am very inspired by, you know, these fellow carnivores, and it does help me feel a little bit less isolated. But it's very hard for me to talk about the stresses that I feel because, like a lot of us, I grew up believing, well, don't feel sorry for yourself. Think of people who are less fortunate. And, I know there are people living in tents on the street right now. Heaven help us. And I know they're far less fortunate than I am. At least I have a job right now. But when people say, think of people who are less fortunate, it doesn't work because they're kind of shutting down the discussion. And I just need people to listen. I need them to listen so bad. And I need to improve my own listening skills. And that's exactly what I want to do. You know, I believe that if we listen to one another, we can offer incredible support, but we have to be able to make that commitment to listening to make sure that the people we're talking to are being heard.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important. I love Dave Mack too for that reason. That's one thing I found with carnivores, yourself included, you've been through so much and you've seen such an incredible change. And there's just this urgency and this need. Like, I just want my story to be told, if not for myself, just to inspire someone else. And Dave has facilitated so many of those stories. It's just amazing. And that was the only reason I was asking that too, is we just did that meetup we were talking about earlier at Montello Theater. It was
Yes.
so nice. Just
Oh,
simply,
yeah.
just simply hanging out with other carnivores, like-minded people that aren't addicted to sugar, that have their own stories. It was so nice. That was the
Yes.
best part of it. For me, it was like, we're doing this thing for the documentary and we're going to have Dr. Hampton. But in the end, my favorite part of it was just being around other carnivores and talking to them and spending some time with them. So I'm hoping to do more of those.
Oh, yeah. That was absolutely wonderful. I enjoyed that thoroughly, and I liked the front row where everybody was wearing their Healing Humanity shirts. That was very cool. You know, where I live in California, there are a lot of wonderful things about living here, but this is not a real strong meat area.
Right.
We don't have very many steakhouses here, and you know, I would I would absolutely love to do and participate in an in-person meetup. Now I know this conference is coming up, KetoCon or Hack Your Health, I think it's called, and I would love to go to that. It's a question of, can I afford it? And if there is any chance in a million years that I can put enough money together to go to that, I definitely want to.
Mm. Yeah, that'd be amazing. That seems to be the big one. That is at the end
Yeah.
of May, beginning of June, and
Yes.
everyone's going. We're filming Dr. Chafee and Dr. Baker there, and I think Dr. Kiltz and
Wow. Oh
7
my
other
gosh, these
people.
are heroes all.
Yeah, I'm so fortunate and blessed. I was just like I said, I'm coming up on 1 year, and I'm putting
Yeah.
together highlights from the year. And as I'm going through all these old videos I did, I was like, oh, that's right. I got to interview Judy Cho. Oh, that's right. I interviewed Dr. Chafee back in
Yeah.
February, and I'm like, wow. And then we just went and filmed Dr. Barry, which still doesn't
Oh man.
doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it's real.
Yeah, I don't blame you. He is just as tall as a mountain. He is just such an amazing human being. I will never stop being grateful for him. That video that he did on the proper human diet was a real life changer for me. It truly
Yeah.
was. And he's so down to earth. I mean, he just speaks very directly, very clearly, and he has just enough of a sense of humor to kind of, make you feel like you're enjoying it, but he's giving very valuable advice. So I can imagine that was just an incredible experience for you and Adam to meet with him.
Yeah, it was. He exceeded all expectations, but I was just happy I got to tell him, I don't, we got to raise the voices up of doctors like him with
Oh, for
his
sure.
reach. I don't know that I would have started carnivore without him. It sounds like he was a big part of you starting carnivore, and I hear that
Oh,
over and
yeah.
over again. because so many people will see like my video or Dave Mack or Robin, and they'll say, "Oh, that's interesting," but they're crazy, and then they go watch a Dr. Barry video, and then they're convinced to finally start it. But I said that to him when I was there. I was like, and I really believe this. I can't think of any other individual human on Earth that's alive right now that has helped save or transform more lives than Dr. Barry. I really don't think there is
Oh,
anyone else. As an individual, 3 million subscribers. Just you can look at randomly any one of his videos, like the one he did on type 2 diabetes, and it's just like,
yeah.
Dr.
Oh,
Barry, you
yeah.
saved my life. You saved my life. One person on there said, I went to a doctor for 10 years, and what I learned in 10 minutes on your videos changed my life forever. That's just amazing.
Yeah. That
Life
I've heard
changing.
that many, many times myself. And one of the things that one of the videos that Dr. Berry posted about bacon, he wanted to dispel all this, negative commentary about bacon. And I remember he said, so the next time that your dietitian or your doctor or even your mama said, bacon is bad for you, I just burst out laughing. And I also had some gratitude because I like bacon. Now, I shunned bacon for years and years because of all that nasty anti-fat messaging that we've been having shoved down our throats all these years. And now, yay, bacon's back. I don't eat it every day, but it's just nice to be able to eat bacon and enjoy it again.
Yeah, I agree. My whole life too, I did the same thing. I avoided fatty meat, I avoided bacon, and I ate the other stuff, and
Uh-huh.
it got me so sick. Are you How do you feel about the whole situation and how we got here? Are you upset that we've been told the wrong things, or is it just greed going amok and this is kind of where we are? Like, what are your thoughts on how we got it so wrong?
Well, I think it's a combination of both things, unfortunately. Um, it's a combination of corporate greed. And I do feel sometimes we don't have a food crisis, we have a corporate greed crisis. We don't have a housing crisis, we have a corporate greed crisis. And I think that is a very strong part of all of this. The other part of it is that people, and you address this with this idea of normalizing sickness, that people just trust things that they hear and they don't really put it through any sort of filter, any sort of analysis. When all this anti-fat messaging came about, I bought into it just as readily as anyone else. So I can't point a finger at anybody else because I'm part of the problem, or I was part of the problem. Not anymore, I hope. But so I think it's a combination of corporations seeing the advantages of selling items, and I say items instead of food because so much of this stuff is not really food. But they like cereal, for example. My goodness, what a nightmare! It is absolute nightmare. That is the aisle of tragedy in the grocery store, and yet they sell this stuff. They make a ton of money on it, and somehow people just aren't understanding that this stuff is the worst thing you can give your children.
Mhm.
And part of the problem also is that over the years, as more couples who both have to work, both mom and dad have to work, as that number of families has increased, you know, people don't have time to prepare a proper breakfast, for example, or they don't think they have time. It doesn't take that much time to scramble up a couple of eggs. But I saw a movie once about a professional couple. They had 3 kids, and so both mom and dad are scurrying around to get ready to drop their kids off at school so they can go to their jobs. So mom grabs a box of cereal from the cupboard, throws it into 3 different bowls, goes, "Come on, kids, hurry up! We gotta get ready for school. Come and eat your breakfast." Bowl of cereal. That's their breakfast. And they had to hurry up and gobble it down so they could get in the car and mom could take them to school. And it's like, oh man, those poor kids, you know, they're not getting a proper breakfast. That just made me so sad.
Mm.
And we have to value what we feed our children because it really does matter. that the quality of what we feed them is far more important than how quickly we can feed them.
Mm, so true. Yeah. It's just the cereal thing is crazy to me. It's kind of like
Ugh.
we were saying earlier, it just gets a complete pass. But when you think about how highly processed it is, and it's just normalized, it's like I saw this video before where they were talking about during World War II, there were rations on tin and metal, so they stopped doing dog food. So they went to dry processed dog food, which is horrible for dogs. And it's
Yes.
like cereal is pretty much the same thing. It's like, how can we dry this out, process something, and put it in a bag that'll stay on a shelf, and you could sell it for months, and you could the expiration date's way out, and it's just highly processed. But I almost wonder. It's kind of like, what are your thoughts on this? The sugar addiction is so crazy. It sounds like you had it with sugar and carbs,
Yes.
and to me, it's just like, how is sugar no different than a drug? Do you see any distinction there?
Well, sadly, probably not. Because, I had to think of my own example where you put a package of Oreo cookies in front of me, I open it up, game over. I eat the first cookie and I can't stop.
Hmm.
And some people can. I could not. But I didn't understand why. I just thought it was because I was too dumb to understand or too lazy to stop eating the cookies after the first or second one. I was just a dumb eater. I didn't realize that there was something in me that was craving that over and over and over again. And so sugar is, I believe it is highly addictive. And that's why cereal is such a tragedy for a breakfast item for children. Because what do we do? Feed kids cereal, all these sugared cereals with cute little names and funny circus animals on the box and all this stuff to make it fun for kids to eat. And then now they're so used to sugar, and then we tell them, oh, that's bad for you, can't eat it anymore. But by that time, they're on a train collision course. And that just seems so unfair. A lot of companies are selling addiction. And this actually started with tobacco way back during World War One. Tobacco companies were shipping carton after carton of cigarettes to our troops in Europe. And so all these soldiers became smokers. They came back to the US as smokers. They were hooked on the nicotine. Instant customer base. Problem solved. You've got all these smokers now. Yippee. We can just sell more and
Lifelong.
more cigarettes. Yep, yep, yep. And they were selling addiction.
Yeah. Just like with cereal, you get them hooked at a young age and they'll be lifelong sugar consumers. I really believe that sugar has to be one of the biggest industries when you look at it as a whole, and you go to the
Yes,
grocery store and almost every product has sugar in it. If you took the sugar out of every product in the grocery store, you'd have like eggs and meat and the stuff that we eat left. It's
yes,
in almost everything now. It's just insane.
it is. It really is. And sugar has no nutritional value that will benefit either our minds or our bodies. We don't need sugar. I've been sugar free for 2 years and I'm pretty healthy. I can get up and go to work every day. I'm not nutritionally deprived. We don't need it.
Right? And the long-term effects of it are what's really interesting. There's so many people do carnivore and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like, I feel so good now. I lost weight. I don't have depression, anxiety. But I like to think about 20 years from now, 30 years from now, had I kept on eating sugar and having chronic inflammation from sugar for decades and decades, what other chronic diseases, cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia, those sort of things am I going to end up getting?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because when you talked about normalizing illness, that just really called out to me. And that was part of what inspired me to do the latest video, because that's what we're doing. We're saying, well, you just get sick and that's what it is. And, people diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, for example, they're being being told terrible things. Well, diabetes is a progressive disease. So even if you're dependent on insulin now, eventually you will be, because it's a progressive disease. Or, you know, once you have high blood pressure, you have to be medicated for life. You know, there's nothing you could do. When you get older, you get sicker, you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, this is just tragic. I mean, it's like, what am I going to do now? You know, it doesn't have to be that way. Unfortunately, for the very first time in my lifetime, we are starting to get some pushback by hero doctors, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Berry, you know, Dr. Paul Mason, Dr. Hampton, you know, Dr. Georgia Eade, you know, Dr. Chris Palmer, Dr. Baker, you know, they're pushing back on this and pushing back hard. And they are inspiring people like me, and it sounds like they have inspired you greatly, you know, to say, why are we feeling that it is inevitable that we will be sick as we get older? Why?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was the thing with the healing humanity too, was initially I'm like, does humanity need healing? And you talked about that in the video you did too. And my first thing was, well, yeah, look at all this chronic illness, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, all these things. But then, as we were saying, it's kind of normalized. That's just everyone gets sick. It was nothing you can do about it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go along with that. Everyone just gets sick. Diabetes, cancer rates, those are just all normal. Let's just ignore all of those. Humanity still needs healing because I don't know about you, Lori, but before the proper human diet, constant brain fog, constant fatigue. I had depression, anxiety. I had all these other issues. But aside from the chronic issues, just the brain fog and putting the wrong fuel in the body and constantly being inflamed,
Yes.
I was just barely getting by in life. I wasn't living. Now I feel like I'm living and I have energy and I have clarity and I have motivations that I didn't have before. And I feel like that's just what all humans should just naturally have, motivations and a default smile on their face and energy and doing things. So that was kind of the thought with the documentary name, is humanity needs healing, even if we don't count all these chronic diseases, because they're all putting the wrong fuel in their body and just walking around in a fatigue and brain fog and going along to get along and doing the bare minimum.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's why, you know, when you chose that title, Healing Humanity, it's like, yes, that is perfect. Because we have this idea that life is, you know, somebody said once, life is tragic. Well, there can be tragic elements in life. I mean, I lost a brother to suicide. That is indeed tragic. But whatever happened to the idea that we can evolve, we can grow, we can honor our creator. Now, I know some people don't believe in, you know, a higher power. I happen to believe in a higher power. And I want to honor our creator. And I wasn't doing that. I was, you know, killing myself, you know, unintentionally, of course, but just poisoning myself year by year by year. And it's like, why? You know, and I don't want people to believe that life sucks, you know, adapt or die. There's nothing you can do, you know, stuff like that. And that stuff is just soul killing. It really is. You know, I think we were meant to be able to do better than that, to be all we can be. And you have mentioned this yourself, be all you can be, because you deserve it. You have the capability to do it. You are worth it. And that is my biggest challenge, to believe in myself. I am worth it. And I've got a lot of work to do still. So I'm still playing catch up in that regard.
Well, you are worth it. That should be your new mantra. I have mine: thankful, grateful, blessed. Yours could be, I am worth it, I'm
Yes.
worth it, I'm worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I should just keep saying that out loud. That's why I have a little tagline at the end of my videos now. Listen up, lift up, and cheer up. Because we need to listen to one another, we need to lift one another up, and we need to occasionally just cheer each other up.
Yes. I love that. Yeah. I was thinking about that this morning, actually. the odds of either of us being here alive on Earth right now is such a miracle. The odds are just so small. All of the
Yes.
coincidences, all of our grandparents, great grandparents is getting together, everything leading to this point that we're here now. It's an absolute miracle. And unfortunately, hopefully we'll change this, but so many people are going to have that miracle and have the ability to be alive, but never truly live if they're walking around in that brain fog and fatigue and depression and things like that. So
I know. Yeah, it's truly tragic, and I try not to be a Pollyanna because I know there is great tragedy in life. People have been hurt deeply by many events in their lives, whether it's physical injury, losing a limb, going blind. There's a lot of tragedy in life, but even things like, for example, age-related macular degeneration. Um, Now there is a question: is there a metabolic link to macular degeneration? Dr. Lisa Wiedemann, I don't know if I'm pronouncing,
yep.
she specializes in ophthalmology, and she is questioning that too. That maybe you don't have to lose your vision completely. Maybe you don't have to have a needle stuck in your eye to treat wet macular degeneration. Maybe we don't. There might be a point where we don't have to do that ever again, and I
Mm.
hope so. And I want to believe that, and I don't think that's being Pollyanna.
Right. Yeah, I keep doing this thing where I'm trying the thing with the documentary was initially it's going to be all about the carnivore diet, and it's kind of evolved to no, what is natural? It seems like as
Yes.
humans we've
Oh.
escaped from what is natural. And I keep saying this, and I'm driving my family nuts a little bit, but anytime I see a problem in the world or something, I'm like, that's just an escape from natural. If we were honoring what is natural for humans, that
Yes.
there'd be very few problems, I believe, in the world. I
I
guess you're right though. You could always fall out of a tree and break your leg or something like that, but
Yeah,
um, maybe climbing in a tree isn't natural. Who knows? Um,
I know. Yeah.
yeah.
I think one of the other things, and you have talked about this too, that you do not eat any fruits or vegetables, and neither do I. And I remember just feeling incredible guilt and shame because I didn't like vegetables. What's the matter with you? How come you're not normal? You don't eat vegetables. And I finally have thrown that off because it's just who I am. I just do not want to eat them. But the problem is that vegetables have been seen as the gold standard for nutrition. They have been put on a very high pedestal.
Mm.
You know, that's the ultimate, eat your kale, eat your spinach. And now we're seeing, some real problems with vegetables. Not only the, possible toxic content like oxalates and things like that, but how they're grown and how they're treated, how they're sprayed with all kinds of nightmarish chemicals that heaven knows what that's doing to our bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. It's just crazy to me how a lot of that gets a pass, but you're right. It's been put on such a high pedestal. Everyone's like, I eat my vegetables. I'm so good. I'm like, what's so good about eating a salad that has 14 calories in it? And when we interviewed Dr. Berry, that was my favorite thing he said. He was like, salad is crunchy water with glyphosate all over it.
Oh, wow. Well, he's right. He's right.
Yeah. I was like, the amount of calories or energy you get out of eating some lettuce, uh, your stomach's need to process that lettuce far exceeds the amount you're getting out of it. It's a complete loss. It's a complete waste
Yes.
of time, let alone all of the seed oil dressings and all the other stuff you end up putting on top of the salad that you end up eating that aren't healthy for you. But I think there's a huge, huge problem that just gets a complete pass now with produce, like you mentioned, whether it's the toxins in the plant itself or the pesticides, herbicides, glyphosate. The pesticides
Oh,
now, they've
God.
got they have forever chemicals in the pesticides as if the pesticides weren't enough. And I don't know, I did this in a video before, but people sprinkle water over the top and they think that's okay. And meanwhile, it's permeated into the interior of the vegetable. You are
Yeah.
slowly poisoning yourself if you're eating vegetables. And some
Oh,
people will
yes.
say or argue, oh, it's just a little bit of poison. It's okay. But for me, I'm like,
No,
I'm good.
no way.
I'm good with no poison at all for the rest of my life, as little as I can get for sure.
Yeah, you can scrub the heck out of a vegetable and still not get the poison out.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen videos there where they juice them and then they test the extracted juice and it's just full of pesticides. There's enough pesticides here we could just reuse it.
Ew.
And people are eating that and then they get
Ugh.
leaky gut and IBS and stomach
Oh
issues and
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's
wow.
sad. And so one of the grateful things that I feel about the carnivore diet is I don't have to lie to myself anymore. I don't have to put any more pressure on myself to eat salad, which I never liked and never will like. I know some people like it. I can't, you know, fault them for their choice. It's not a choice that I think is the best, but they have to do what they think is best. But I don't like salad, and I just finally am free of the guilt, the salad guilt. I'm free of
Right.
the vegetable guilt. I'm eating what is nourishing me.
Right. You mentioned earlier you've yo-yoed and lost weight and gained weight, and that really resonated with me because I have been there. I wish I could have the true number of how much weight I've lost over my life because it's been up and down so many times, and it's so
Oh yeah,
discouraging, especially
yes,
if you're not doing carnivore and you're trying to
yes,
lose that weight. It's so hard to lose that weight. You work so hard to lose it
yes,
all. And then you get down and you're like, I'm never gonna gain this back again. And then you gain it all back and then some. I feel
yes, you
like
do.
I feel like it's never going to happen again because every time I did that before, it always felt unnatural. I want to know what your
Yes,
thoughts are on that. It always felt like I was forcing myself. I'm counting calories. It always felt like it wasn't sustainable. And I don't feel like that on carnivore.
yeah. Um, Same thing with me. Every time I quote went on a diet unquote, um, it was a forced action. I was counting calories, and we know that's useless now. I was forcing myself to eat things I didn't like. Well, if I eat a salad, that's better for me and it'll keep me from getting fat or getting way back. You know, and I tried to stay away from sugar, and no, that was the only good part about it. But you know, I kept forcing myself to do all of these things based on all of this misinformation. I ate vegetables with no butter, not even margarine on them, and I hated every minute of it. And the weight did come off. It came off because I was eating only 1,000 calories a day, and it always came back. And with carnivore, for the first time in my life, my weight has stabilized.
Wow. What what message or advice would you have for someone that's thinking about proper human diet?
Well, I would tell them, just to explore in their own minds about what inspired you to start looking into this. What do you want? What is your why? You know, are you feeling sick? Uh, do you want to be healthier? Have you been inspired by stories you've heard? Are you sick of being lied to about foods? Look at all the reasons that you might feel that you want to explore this. Are you afraid of going to the doctor and finding out you have cancer? Are you afraid of getting a heart attack? Whatever. Look at that. And don't be afraid. You're going to hear a lot of anti-meat arguments. I would just give people a caution about that. You're going to hear a lot of the same misinformation that we've all heard for years and years. Put that through your why filter. Question everything. And know that if you're looking into a proper human diet, there are tons of resources that will give you unlimited support. You've got Dr. Berry and his community, you've got tons and tons of videos. There's research out there all over the place. All you have to do is do some Google searches and you'll find some amazingly helpful information. So look at the things that support your desire to be healthy. And you'll probably be pleasantly surprised at not only how much useful information is out there, but how many helpful resources, how much support that you can take advantage of. Because I love, looking at videos from fellow carnivores who, have had many, many inspiring stories and many, many challenges where they've, tried and failed, tried and failed, tried and failed. And then it all comes together and they're feeling better. They feel more proud of themselves. They have the mental clarity that both you and I have been blessed with. And so you're not alone. If you want to explore the proper human diet, you are not alone. There is a better way. And there are people who will listen to you. I'm hoping that anybody that visits my channel will feel safe and comfortable there, because you don't have to worry about the carnivore police, on any video on my channel. You don't have to worry about, well, you can't do this is not allowed on carnivore, here are the rules, all that sort of stuff. No, never.
That's great. I can't believe it's already been an hour. This went by so quick.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I want to say huge thank you to Lori Carnivore Cheer. Lori, is there anything else you want to add, or anything else that maybe I missed? Well, there's so much more we could talk about, but I would encourage everyone on my channel to go watch Lori's channel, Carnivore Cheer. Watch the video she recently did on healing humanity. It was an absolutely wonderful video. But is there anything else you want to mention or shout out before we wrap it up?
Well, I just want to give you a shout out, because this documentary, I know, is a massive project and it's taking a lot of time and effort, but it is really going to be extremely beneficial. And I'm hoping that any way I can support it, I want to do that. The other shout out that I want to give is to Dr. Tony Hampton, who's an extremely compassionate doctor. And I had the pleasure of interviewing with him maybe about 2 months ago. And he really does understand the need to combine, solid, scientifically based medical advice with compassion to his patients. And his patients who have diabetes, I am so glad that he is there for them, because he wants them to be healthy. He doesn't want to make a lot of money on pills and everything else. He wants people to be healthy. And that resonates through him. I mean, it just shines through and through. And he is a hero to me. So I just want to shout out Dr. Hampton. I want to give shout out to Adam, because his talent in helping you with the documentary, his channel, he's just doing so much good work. And I am very grateful and honored to have known him, and looking forward to continuing to be a fellow carnivore along with him.
That's so nice of you. Yeah.
Oh, just one more. I also am grateful that your children and Jen, they're eating healthy too. I'm very inspired by Emma. She's going to be a wonderful next generation carnivore, and I'm subscribed to her channel. So I'll always be on the lookout for videos from her. So I know you have never pressured to influence your children, to do anything but make their own choices. But they are very, very fortunate. And so they're doing great in life. And I have every confidence that they're going to go out into the world and make a huge difference.
Oh, that's so sweet. You're so nice. Thank you. You picked some good shout outs there, Lori. I couldn't agree more. Dr. Hampton dedicated his life to be a healer. Yeah, we interviewed him for the documentary, and I cannot wait to share his words with the world. The amount of people that he is getting off of medication, such a life-changing thing, and they have their lives back forever because of him, is just incredible. I love him because he's a carnivore. He became a doctor to heal people. He's practicing what he preaches, and he's helping so many people, patients in his own practice, but also online now too, through his words. He's helping with his hands and his mouth and his words. It's just incredible. Shout out Emma too, and Adam is absolutely incredible. I don't know where I'd be without him in this documentary. He's so talented. And my other daughter Katie now too, speaking of not pressuring them, this one came out of the blue for me. Katie's been counting calories and doing her own thing for about a year now. And I've left her completely alone. I haven't pushed her at all. Well, she decided to do keto a couple of weeks ago. She's doing keto. She's almost into carnivore now. I never even said anything to her. She started doing a YouTube channel too, Outdoor Katie. So Katie and I love outdoor stuff like kayaking and biking and stuff like that. So she's going to be doing more. But she did a video yesterday, I think, about her 30 days on keto and some of the amazing results she's having. So it's kind of fun. Yeah, her and Emma are going to do a video together next, so that should be exciting.
Wow, yeah.
I'm just so thankful. I'm not pushing them in either way, although I kind of know what the right way is. But I'm coming up on 1 year, and that is the thing I'm most grateful for. Is it's like all of this is coming together in the last couple of weeks leading up to the end of a year. Where a couple of months ago, I didn't think any of them would be doing this, but they've decided to see my example or the example of you or Dr. Hampton or Adam, because I constantly have carnivore content on and they're like, I'm just trying this. And my thing is, even if they fail or they decide they don't want to do it anymore, they've tried and they have this as a tool in their toolbox and they know how powerful it is. And it's something they'll have forever. It's something I didn't have when I was hopelessly depressed and had the worst depression ever.
Oh, I know.
Tool they have forever now.
Yeah, I wish I had discovered carnivore 4 decades ago, but better late than never.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this has been wonderful, Lori. I really enjoyed talking to you. You got such a great spirit, such a great attitude. A definite friend of the channel. Anytime, reach out. I would love it if we could get together for a meetup. We're going to make it happen. I'm going to talk to Adam. I'm going to talk to Adam and say, who are we filming in Northern California area? It's at some point we're going to be in that area. I know for sure we're going to be in Washington. So or at least on the far West Coast. At some point, we're definitely going to be in Washington. So we'll have to get together and do a meetup. That'd be amazing.
Oh, that would be fantastic. And Carrie, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me. It's been an honor and a pleasure to chat with you. It really has.
Thank you for saying that. And likewise, it's more of an honor and a pleasure for me. Your story's incredible. Really. I was speechless there. I can't believe everything that you've been through, but it's just amazing and inspiring. What you've done. You've taken control of your life now, and it's so inspiring. It's awesome. I think you're going to inspire a lot of people. So I'm looking forward to sharing your story with the world.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Quick interruption. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in learning more about our documentary, Healing Humanity, The Power of a Proper Human Diet, or supporting it, please visit donate.healinghumanity.movie. Our goal is to reach millions of people that are hopeless right now and sharing the examples of real people over the course of 1 year that are undertaking a proper human diet to overcome obesity, type 2 diabetes, depression, anxiety, fertility issues. We couldn't do it without you. We thank you so much. We are also selling these shirts, Healing Humanity, The Power of a Proper Human Diet. Every penny we get from those goes towards the documentary. And last, we have memberships. If you click the little join button, it's best to do it on desktop. Under any one of my YouTube videos, you can join and become a member. We have hundreds of members right now. We do members only videos. We do members only behind the scenes. You can email me as a member and I'll answer you. And every penny from that goes to support the documentary. And the last thing is we have these Redmond's portable salt shakers. These things are awesome. You can get the best salt. You can take it with you. We sell these on the website along with our water bottles and cutting boards, and every penny from all of those goes 100% towards supporting the documentary. You can also sign up for our newsletter, which is completely free. All of these links are in the description below. Thank you so much for your support. Now back to today's video.